And we've always been fascinated with the laundry lounge. And we've talked to you an extent about this as well. And it's something that I think a lot of people want to get into. They don't know a lot about it.
Yeah.
Or they get into it and it's not successful, right? And it's hard. It's tricky buying into it, at least in our experience, is difficult following the paper, right? How do we know that it's lucrative? We're buying the business. And what we've learned from you is you're not buying the business. You need to buy the bones and then make it a business, right? Buy the infrastructure that can be a laundromat or a laundry lounge and then turn it into something amazing, which is what you've done. So talk to us about the Launderette Lounge and exactly what the concept is and go from there.
Okay, so the laundromat was also one of those things where my husband one day tells me, hey, we should get a laundromat. And this was a few years ago. I'm like, again, me like, what do you mean? Like, I'm in real estate now, you know? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, we should get a laundromat. And I'm like, okay, put it in the back of my head. Mm-hmm. One day I'm like watching TV and all of a sudden the laundromat just pops into my head and I say, you know what? We're going to get a laundromat. And I turned to him, I kid you not. And I said, hey, babe, this year we're getting a laundromat. And he goes, yeah, okay. I promise you. That was like February and we purchased the laundromat. We closed on it June 27th. Wow. Like that. And he, you know, and I'm just kind of like that whenever I want to do something, like we're going to get it done.
Yeah.
So we purchased a laundromat. However, I will tell you prior to that, and that was kind of like I have had a lot of learning because not a lot of people talk about the laundromat or like how to get into it. And if they do, they don't want to disclose that information, right? Because they want to get it themselves and because the business can be very lucrative. And so I was under contract for another one previously. And what ended up happening was that on paper, you know, initially what he presented to us seemed great. And when it came down to, you know, show me this, show me that, it was a disaster. And I just didn't feel comfortable going into it. Mm-hmm. And so sadly enough, I said, you know what? It's not for us. I canceled it. But that same day when we canceled, no way, I promise you, I tell my husband, I go, you know what? What's going to be for us will happen and it's just going to happen. I've been so after it, like looking.
Yeah.
And I ended up coming across that night. I'm like scrolling, navigating the web, whatever, this and that. And this is not common, but it came up on Facebook Marketplace.
Really?
It was very random.
Wow.
But you know, the price, what they were offering. And I'm like, this has to be a scam. Like, it really has to be a scam. And I'm like, let me message them anyway. So then the guy answers me and he tells me, no, you can come by tomorrow. And everything was so seamless. We got under contract in 3 days. He provided everything to me. And so I learned that if you have your business together, like you should, there's nothing you should hide. And he sent me everything right away. And everything was like
as it should
be. And so we went under contract and 3 weeks later or so, we closed. Laundromats are heavy on cash, as most of them are, and some of them are transitioning to a card system, which is what we ended up doing.
Okay.
And I highly advise for anybody who's looking into purchasing a laundromat to do that. If you do purchase one that is cash, now you can either purchase one that's cash, and let's say if the owner cannot provide you all of that information because naturally they might not be putting it in the bank or wherever they're putting it, then you want to make sure that your purchase price makes sense and the equipment that they're offering makes sense. I also advise for you to pass by, hang out there for some time, kind of like check out the movement, like really what's going on. If they're claiming that they have a lot of wash and fold business, you want to check out the wash and fold business that's actually coming in.
Okay.
And verify it. Because if not, then again, your purchase price has to make sense because that business that you don't initially have, you're going to have to be able to get it to come in.
Right.
Which can definitely be done. And I think I've gone to like every laundromat that I've seen. In Miami, I see a laundromat. I'm like, wait, I haven't stopped there. Let me go in. Right. And a lot of those
research. Yeah.
A lot of laundries. And what I learned was, and before I got into this business, was a laundromat is something that people think of like, they're kind of gross. Like, what do you mean? I'm going to go to a laundromat and take my clothes to? But we wanted to reinvent the wheel. We wanted something to be different. We wanted it to be more of like an experience where like if I'm a mom and my washer and dryer breaks down, where am I going to wash my clothes? I want to go to this laundromat where I feel comfortable. I can take my kids in with me. I feel safe at the same time. And so that was like the purpose and what we decided to do.